The observation deck of the Wandering Star hummed with the low thrum of engines as Lena Vos sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by scraps of synthetic fabric. Her fingers moved with practiced precision, guiding the scissors through material as she fashioned a new patch for her worn jacket. The ship's communal area was mostly empty at this hour, save for the cluster of Kethrin cubs playing near the viewport. Lena had grown accustomed to their presence over the past 3 months. The Kethrins were a proud warrior species, apex predators from a high-gravity world where survival meant constant vigilance. Their adults stood nearly 8 feet tall, covered in sleek obsidian fur with bioluminescent markings that pulsed with their emotions. Powerful, dangerous, and utterly devoted to the concept of strength through combat. Yet here were their cubs, barely waist-high to Lena, watching her with luminous golden eyes that betrayed an almost painful curiosity. She didn't notice them at first. Her focus remained on the delicate work of cutting curves into the stubborn fabric. Scissors. Such a simple human tool. 2 blades, a pivot point, the mechanical advantage of leverage. Nothing fancy. Nothing that required power cells or quantum processors. Just sharp metal and the strength of a human hand. What is that? The voice was high-pitched, almost musical despite the guttural undertones of the Kethrin language. The universal translator in Lena's ear rendered it comprehensible. She looked up to find Cub Rikar standing closer than before, his head tilted at an angle that would have looked comical, if not for the razor-sharp claws flexing unconsciously at his sides. His fur markings glowed a curious pale blue. "Scissors," Lena said simply, holding them up. "A cutting tool." Rikar's eyes widened. Behind him, 3 more cubs had abandoned their roughhousing to creep closer. Their predatory instincts made them move with unnatural silence despite their youth. "How does it hunt?" another cub asked. Lena blinked, then smiled. Of course they'd think in terms of hunting. "It doesn't hunt. It cuts things. Fabric, paper, rope. Whatever I need to divide into smaller pieces." She demonstrated again, the scissors making a soft snick-snick sound as the blades came together. The cubs watched with rapt attention, their bioluminescent patterns flickering rapidly, a sign of excitement she'd learned. Rikar raised one paw, extending his claws. They were already impressive, curved like scimitars and naturally sharp. "We have claws. Why do humans need scissors?" It was a fair question. Lena set down her work and considered how to explain. "Human claws don't grow back sharp. We're not built like you, so we make tools to do what our bodies can't." "Weak," one of the other cubs muttered, though not unkindly, simply stating what seemed like an obvious fact. Lena's smile didn't waver. She'd heard variations of this assessment from dozens of species. Humans were weak, soft skin, blunt teeth, pathetic claws, unremarkable strength. By almost every physical metric, humanity shouldn't have survived their own homeworld, let alone become a spacefaring species. "Maybe," she conceded. "But watch this." She picked up a length of reinforced cable, the kind used for emergency tethers, capable of supporting several tons of weight. With her scissors, she positioned the blades carefully and applied pressure. The cubs leaned in. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sharp snap, the cable parted cleanly. The cubs jumped back in surprise, their markings flashing brilliant orange. "How?" Rikar breathed. "Leverage," Lena explained. "The scissors multiply the force I apply. My weak human hands become strong enough to cut through almost anything, as long as I have the right tool." She could see the gears turning behind those alien eyes. The cubs exchanged glances, their markings pulsing in patterns she'd come to recognize as communication. Then Rikar did something unexpected. He raised both paws in front of his face, extended his claws, and began opening and closing them in a scissoring motion, trying to mimic what he'd seen. Lena pressed her lips together to suppress a laugh. Within seconds, all the cubs were doing it, slicing at the air with their paws, trying to replicate the scissors' cutting motion. They looked ridiculous, these miniature apex predators playing pretend with an imaginary human tool. "Like this?" Ricard asked earnestly, crossing his paws back and forth. "Close," Lena said, her voice warm. "But scissors work because the blades slide against each other at a pivot point. See?" She demonstrated slowly. "The angle matters." For the next 20 minutes, Lena found herself teaching basic mechanical principles to a pack of predator cubs. She showed them how the pivot point created a fulcrum, how the length of the handles provided leverage, how the sharpened edges needed to meet at just the right angle to cut cleanly rather than crush. The cubs absorbed it all with frightening intensity. Their species' legendary capacity for learning combat techniques apparently extended to understanding human engineering. Ricard was the most dedicated, practicing his air scissors technique with increasing precision. His claws whistled as they cut through empty space, adjusting the angle based on Lena's feedback. "Why do you teach us?" he asked suddenly, pausing mid-motion. "We are Kethrin. We will be warriors. This is human weakness." Lena met his golden eyes steadily. "Is it weakness to turn disadvantage into advantage? Your people are born with natural weapons, mine aren't. So we got creative. We made tools, then better tools, then tools to make tools. We took our weakness and built civilization from it." She picked up the scissors again. "Every human invention starts with a simple question. How can we do better? Your claws are magnificent, Ricard. But they can't be removed when you need to be gentle. They can't be replaced when they break. They can't be specialized for 1,000 different tasks." She opened a compartment in her repair kit, revealing dozens of different cutting tools, surgical scissors, wire cutters, fabric shears, each designed for a specific purpose. "Humans aren't weak," she continued softly. "We're adaptable, and that's a different kind of strength." The cubs were silent for a long moment. Then Ricard's markings shifted to a deep, thoughtful purple, a color she'd never seen on a Kethrin before. "Teach us more," he said. And so she did. As the wandering star journeyed through the void between stars, Lena Voss, a human who would never match a Kethrin's strength or speed, taught a pack of predator cubs that the deadliest tool in the galaxy wasn't claws or teeth or brute force. It was the ability to think, to create, and to never stop improving. The cubs continued practicing their air scissors long after she'd returned to her repairs, their small forms moving with increasing precision. And Lena couldn't help but wonder what these young warriors would become when they grew up understanding not just the strength of their claws, but the power of human ingenuity. Perhaps, she thought, the future wouldn't be won by the strongest species. It would be won by those clever enough to learn from everyone else.